when you're doing kata or you're doing weaponry or you're doing something, whatever you're doing, if you're training on your own, it's not a bad thing to talk to yourself and walk yourself through these things so that you're not just building muscle memory, you're also building vocalization or, being able to auditory whatever you're doing along with listening to it as well. So in other words, you got three senses going on at the same time. Your feel, speech, and hearing. So
you can actually, at least to yourself, that might always not make sense to somebody you're talking to, but you can at least articulate to yourself what it means when you're doing it. And I think that's where people find stuff, where they actually discover things in their martial arts, they discover things in the katas, they discover things in their training. Is when they try to, look at it from not an analytical view, but, a step-by-step view from what you're doing. I know this for sure is when, there's one way of training, which is just the physical side of it, working up a sweat, working out, getting the training in. But there's a side of that kind of misses the point, that I feel like if you're just doing push-ups or you're just doing sit-ups or you're just doing, shadow boxing or bag drills or whatever, there's a limited amount of stuff that you're actually able to do. But if you're as you're saying, is with that mental exercise, then you're actually able to see stuff. And then when you actually start working with people, then you can actually try to articulate what you mean and what you see. If you don't have that ability to do that, then I see this a lot, is where people are like, we're gonna do this, okay. And they're not able to explain it. They're not able to break it down. They're just able to do it, and that's it.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about, what I'm going to talk about next is not so much picking anybody or everybody out, but sometimes you'll run into this. Somebody may have just learned something, and it may be something pretty intense, or they've been shown some secret of some sort, secret technique or whatever it is in the art. And somebody comes up and asks them, well, hey, can you show me? There are several reasons why somebody may not show that to you. One could be who passed it on to you basically directed you not to show it to anyone, and you're trying to, respect what they're telling you to do. Another is you just learned it and you just barely learned it and you really don't want to make a mistake. So therefore, well, it's secret. And it's kind of like, instead of it's secret, it's kind of like, I'm really not totally sure yet, so I really don't want to teach you. Or it's like, I've got some type of prize and I don't want to give that out. And it's like, it's mine, kind of.
You can't have it, it's mine, it's my little morsel, I'm going to run away with it. There's two sides to that, because it's like, well, I can understand why people would prize that, but at the same time, they probably don't understand what they got.
And that can be a whole topic on a whole other podcast, just going over that, the psychological aspects of people in martial arts. But I don't know about you. I'm not Dr. Phil. He's
no, we're not gonna go there.
I will say this: he can be entertaining at times. So
he's not a real doctor. He just became a real doctor or something like that. Like he was never actually a real doctor.
I don't know what the.
He just has an easy mannerism to tell people that they're doing something wrong. Well, and he plays on daytime TV. So.
That part I personally don't know, but I mean, I thought there were certain parts he can do certain things. I don't care. Anyway, it doesn't. He's kind of entertaining. We'll stop with that.
We just found out that Jeremy is a huge Dr. Phil shill.
I am not a huge Dr. Phil person. Just every once in a while, what'll happen is my wife will send me some clip. Watch this, and I'm like, oh, geez. It can be kind of entertaining. And I'll be perfectly honest, I've used some of the techniques whenever, not only that I'm bringing up my kids, but even when I'm teaching, I've used some of that. It's like, well, that sucked. How's that working for you? One of his famous lines. So how's that working for you? You just got knocked out. How's that working for you? It's different things like that. But
pulling in the secrets of martial arts via Dr. Phil style psychology.
And then okay, now we're getting back to it. And then you got another perspective of it where basically you're looking at the person who's asking you to teach, asking you to be taught, and you realize they don't have the skill enough to really get it or grasp it, understand it, or somehow they're not going to respect it the way you'd want them to possibly carry that on. Because
That's two things. Because
yes,
there's one side, you have the people who aren't prepared to be able to take it on
right.
from a physical perspective. Yeah, they want to learn, but it's not where they should go right now. You have other people, and then the other side of what you were saying was just people who don't respect they're the takers. They're the people who they'll sit there with their cameras and record everything you're doing and try to emulate what you're doing, but they will in no way respect the fact that it's on that side, it's not theirs.
Yeah, and I mean that's one thing I've always really been, I wouldn't say sensitive, but I've been very cautious about people videotaping anything that I've done. I usually don't let them videotape anything that I'm doing unless I've worked with them.
Right.
A lot of times if I'm working with somebody at like a seminar or something like that, and guess what? They're going to fly to New Zealand or Scotland or wherever.
Those two lands.
Yeah, I mean, or anywhere in between. Not around here. I feel like if I've worked with them, I feel like part of my teaching and me giving that knowledge to them, I think they deserve to have some type of video so that they can see it. They can refresh them. Okay, yeah, I remember what I was, and I've done the same thing. When I was learning a particular weapon, someone was from out of state. He was very gracious enough. He said, "You know what? I don't want to videotape it until after we've gotten to the very end and you understand, or you stuck with it through the whole kata. At that point, yeah, I'll be more than happy to videotape, and then that way you got a reference point to go by, and that's totally cool."
There's a mental exercise of that too, where it's just being patient enough to get to the end of something
Yes.
to understand it. There's also an element of that is also of event organization. You're going to work on one thing for 4 or 5 hours. You're going to work on one thing for 2 hours. The absorption factor there is quite limiting.
And that's one of the things that I got from Sensei Oyata, and it happened after I left the organization. And I think on a previous podcast I'd mentioned this. I mean, I remember us being in seminars and we'd be doing Naichi Shodan for 3, 4, 5 hours straight or more. And basically it was to get people to really pull their head out of their butt so they're ready to train, and so that he could actually show us what he wanted to show us. And I remember running into that big time in the one class, and I remember feelings like, something ain't right, something ain't right, something ain't right. We're going to do this again. We're going to do this again. And finally, after I left, I'm like, okay. I mean, the light bulb finally went off a little ways down the road after I'd left. It was like, oh, I knew, each one of those students, they were not paying attention to what they were supposed to be paying attention to.
I feel like in itself is a bit of